Welcome to DC. You know we're out at the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you throw apple, you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it down. The G-O, the G-O, the M-A, and B-O. See, though, we've been pumping crank since an embryo, really, though.
Recording in progress.
All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. It is a mundane Monday. A mundane Monday. Monday described as just not caring.
No.
And I think that's where I'm at today.
Oh yeah. Nah, this is it's getting to that point in the season, or at least the season of this team, where indifference sets in, and that's worse than being very good. That's worse than being very bad. It's you just don't care.
And from the DC tweet team, Shelly joins us today. Shelly, how are you?
I'm good. I mean, I'm indifferent. I'm out of, you know what? Am I allowed to say the F
Sure,
word?
say what you feel like.
Yeah, I'm out of fucks. I'm totally just
Giving them all away now?
I don't have any to give, Doug. I'm out of them. That's what I'm saying. The team has just drained me.
For a
I'm
franchise
drained.
that has had plenty of bad months, they went 1-4 in October. The DEA raided the training facilities. Congress is getting involved, and the despair amongst the franchise seems almost on a Zornian level. I haven't felt this level of so close to apathy, but yet so pissed off, maybe since the Zorn days.
Hey, they had a lot of action. It just wasn't on the field.
Yeah.
Still no winning off the field there.
No winning off the field. Hey man, at least Landon Collins played well yesterday.
He played extremely well at the linebacker position. Now,
Well, I mean,
if only they had listened to this show, Pooh, they would have known that if they had moved him to linebacker, they'd have had something on their hands.
Well, he's so hard-headed, and so is the coaching staff, because it's not like the fan base and the podcasters. We were all calling for this in the off season. So some serious stubbornness and hard-headedness going on between the coaching staff and Landon Collins for being just idiots, because this move should have been made a long ass time ago. But whatever, I digress. It's finally been made, and lo and behold, he's doing good.
Yes.
Like we all knew he would, because he's
Now,
playing
I haven't
to
seen
his
snap
abilities.
counts. Because I asked this the other day, why would he care so much about the name linebacker or safety? His snap counts went down significantly 2 games ago. When he switched to linebacker. I've not seen the snap count this week, but that makes sense. Ron Rivera had his press conference today, and our friend Scott Abraham asked him a question about how they can keep the fan base engaged this season. And I tweeted this out so that you can. Ron says, if the fan base, and I quote, if the fan base stays engaged, that's on them.
It's only one way to keep the fan base, or get the fan base back, and that's to win. And they are not doing that.
It is
Said
to
that?
win.
I didn't watch his presser. I'm tired of watching his pressers, because the connection always gets lost. So I've given up watching. But he said that. Wow.
Yeah, it's another day where it's like 3 to 5 years. It takes 3 to 5 years in the military to fix your culture, and we're on year 2. And then when Scotty goes, you've lost a bunch in a row. How do you keep the fan base engaged? And Ron goes, that's on them.
That was like the worst possible thing he could have said.
I'm fed up too.
Holy
He
hell.
is fed up. I don't think he got this heat down in Charlotte.
No, he didn't. Like you can't say stuff like that, DC Rob.
Because he's moved on quickly. Chris, how are you?
Stressed out.
See that? Got the sun coming in from the background, looking lovely wherever you are. We you sitting at like a fancy table there?
No, I'm at my house, Florida.
Oh yeah, I see the yard.
Oh, that looks pretty.
Yeah, very nice. Nothing like back porch living.
That's it.
I was just telling them, I don't know if you listened to Ron's presser today, but when asked how to keep the fan base engaged during a losing season, he basically punted and said that's on the fan base. What did you guys think? You know, you've been on some of these off to where you were hoping. And what is the coach's job as far as keeping players engaged, or does that come down to guys making a lot of money to just stay engaged?
You know, I feel like NFL players itself, you know, we're always engaged in what's going on with the program, what's going on with the fans. And obviously, close the door, baby. Close the door. And obviously, we play for the fans, you know, like we want our fans to be happy every time we go out there, we put a performance on. Especially like a person like myself, you know, I always was engaged with the fans. I always wanted fan interaction. I always wanted to get the crowd hype. There's nothing like playing in front of a game when the whole crowd is just going crazy and they want you to be great. But at the end of the day, the fans want to cheer for winners. And if you're not winning, there's nothing to cheer about. And then I think winning and losing is probably the least of this program's problems. We have so many other things that need to be fixed. The fans probably are not even interested in coming until other things get handled.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that the other week, and I think maybe I had forgotten, but that's a job for you guys, just like no other job, you know, just like anybody else's job. And there's always banter amongst coworkers about management. When you guys are in the locker room, I mean, how far up are you guys talking about what's going on there in the franchise?
A lot of times when you are playing on a team, the front office stuff you kind of like don't get involved with. You kind of just play and let your play on the field talk. The stuff from the front office is kind of like out of our control. So it's just like you can control what you control, and that's just trying to stay healthy and playing well. But the front office stuff, you know, you really can't engage in it, especially in the NFL, especially with the way our contracts are constructed. It's so much that you can speak out about because at the end of the day, these NFL teams have complete control over what they choose to do with or without you. So it's kind of hard for you to speak up as a player when you're going through stuff like that.
But you guys are certainly hearing about it down in the locker room, right? I mean,
no question about it.
Through Ashburn all the time. I was just curious about how much you guys actually pay attention to it and how much of it actually gets discussed, or is it just like another day in Ashburn, you know?
No, I think the players do talk about it, but there's not much that they're going to say in open public.
Right.
But like I remember our times there at Washington. You know, we always had discussions about Bruce Allen. Like, you know, he's terrible. We wish we got rid of him, but you can't really come out in the media and say that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure the guys are aware of it, but it's really nothing that we can really do.
Yeah. It was a frustrating one yesterday. It feels like there's just a lack of direction. Is that what you see? Because to me, it just feels like some of these bad years, you know, you could kind of see where we were going with when it was a bad team. RG3 got here, you know, that there was a little bit of hope. When Jay Gruden comes, you know, they moved on to Kirk Cousins fairly quickly, and he was playing well. And they trade for Alex Smith, and he wasn't washed at the time. It feels like we got no direction here.
Well, without a question. I mean, I know I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Man.
It's just like you don't know what's what from week to week with this team. I think it's a thing of with so much going on off the field that it's really starting to trickle on the field. Like just how people feel about the organization, just even players, just how they feel about the organization. I think it's definitely something going on with that coaching staff. They don't seem to be connected on the same page. It's weird, man. This team is weird. It's very weird this year.
Shelly, were you excited about the Ron Rivera hire?
I mean, they're pretty good at getting you hyped up, right? Every year. You know, it seems to be you're stuck in the Groundhog Day movie. You know, it's the same thing over and over again. But I mean, last year we kind of went on that run. They kind of got you hyped. The off-season shit happened again. They get you hyped up, and it was overhyped. But I wasn't as hyped up as everybody else because they made all those changes in the secondary, and I was worried about everything just kind of gelling and coming together, you know, and then Fitzpatrick coming in, I just, again, was worried about everything coming together, and God, he didn't last long. Damn. I mean, 4 plays in and, you know, he was down. So I didn't expect this. I didn't expect it to be this bad. But I had hoped we would at least be competitive.
How difficult is it to kind of compare and process that they went out, tried to make some big moves. They didn't get Stafford. They got what they thought was an upgrade in Fitzpatrick. He doesn't play. They thought they had an upgrade in Curtis Samuels. He hasn't played. They thought they were upgrading with Cosme. He's been out for a couple of games. You know, Logan Thomas is out. So, like, we're frustrated as a fan base because there's just been a whole lot of losing. But is it fair to be critical of the team right now when, at least on offense, they're down half the roster?
I'm going to always be critical. Yeah. These professionals.
That's the life in the NFL. You know, every team is injured.
Well, but there's reasons for things and there's excuses for things, right? Like this can be a reason for poor products,
right? But this is the problem I have with that excuse, right? Between the 20s, lighten it up. They're outgaining. The last 2 weeks, they've outgained their opponents. They get inside the red zone, nothing. Then they choke. They choke. You cut a kicker who you wasn't happy with. Fine. But you sign a kicker who's been out of college since 2016 and hasn't kicked the kick in the NFL, and apparently we know why. He can't get the kick over the line of scrimmage.
And middle school me just can't not chuckle every time the announcer says blew it. You know, I just like
I definitely blew it.
I laugh every time when the guy says blew it. Like, I'm not going to be able to stop it.
All his kicks have been blocked without the defensive line jumping.
Right. We blew it by signing
Chris, I mean, who's that on? You played teams on the line there, right? I mean, the guy has now got more blocked kicks than he's made kicks. I mean, that's all on the kicker, or that's from start to finish on the product?
No, on in this situation, I feel like it's all on the kicker. And maybe decent snaps, good hold, and he just kicks it into our offensive lineman head. You know? So that has
literally kicked it in the back of his head.
Right.
Literally.
That has nothing to do with coaching. That's just players' ability. I felt like if the guys are going to sign a new kicker and you work him out, I'm pretty sure they were supposed to check the velocity on his kicks. And we get in a game and this guy can't make it over a 6'4" guy. So that's personnel decision making.
Well, and
then you look at Hopkins. And Hopkins made all his kicks this week. So it's like
I was gonna say Hopkins had missed one. If that was Ron trying to appease the fan base, again, poor on Ron for listening to outside noise, because as much as we hated the kicker, you could do a whole lot worse than Dustin Hopkins for sure.
Well, the thing was, Doug, Joey Sly was available at the time. I mean, he could have tried out different kickers, but you know, he missed out on Joey's. I mean, he could have had other kickers come in.
I honestly don't even understand what was wrong with Hop. I mean,
people complained, and I think he heard it. I mean, that was it, right? I mean, you're right. There wasn't that much.
He's not a Justin Tucker, but he's a reliable kicker.
Well, and I thought Coach had dug his heels in on Hopkins, so the whole thing was kind of a head scratcher because he made it sound like he was going to stick with them. So the whole thing was kind of, I think he just made the move to appease the fan base. Honestly,
It pissed everybody off.
Yeah,
Especially
because
when you get somebody in that sucks.
you signed somebody nobody ever seen kicking the game before. That was the problem.
And again, who are we blaming in the personnel department if Ron's the buying all the ingredients?
Ron.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ron's ultimately responsible, and it really makes you question his, and I'm doing quotation, his upgrades in the offseason, right? His secondary upgrades haven't been upgrades. Bobby McCain's not paying off. And
I had
sometimes that
visions
doesn't
of
have to
Carlos
do with
Rogers
players.
in my brain when McCain dropped that thing. I
Oh.
you got to be kidding me right now.
You know, I'm not even the secondary upgrades don't really. They only bother me with how they were being used, not that they got them.
Correct.
It's like you got William Jackson the third, and then you ran mostly zone. You got
right,
Bobby McCain
I realize
in.
that they're not
Yeah,
playing him in man. I get it.
You brought
Right.
Bobby McCain in to play free, but then you kept him on the sideline and tried to run Landon Collins out there.
That's on coaching again.
With Cameron
Yeah, I
Curl.
get it.
So, like, now that everybody is sliding, I know William Jackson hasn't been out there, but now you sliding everybody into the spots they're supposed to be in and then push Landon down to the linebacker role. The secondary is actually playing decent now. Like, you don't have them big 40-yard gaps in the middle of the field. Like, we haven't had those in the past couple
wait.
weeks.
I mean, Brady's coming. Just wait.
He is. He is, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
just wait.
It's they haven't been there. Like, we've given up some points, but they haven't been there. So
yeah.
I think that was more on. I don't think the player acquisition was the problem in that respect. I think it was just how they were trying to force them to play roles that they weren't brought in to play.
It's another week when in Ron's press conference, when asked about Jackson, he said, well, he's still learning our system. And I'm tired of hearing coaches that say, well, we got to get them all fitted into our system. Well, no, do something that works well for them. You know what I mean?
You got to make your system work for your players.
Right. When Staley from the Chargers, when asked about if they're going to run a 34 or 43, says, I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet because I got to get used to the players. We're going to build something that works for the players. And I love that. And I always think we're not doing any of that here, and it's frustrating. It sounds like no Kyle Allen. Coach said they will continue to run with the 4 train. I don't get it. I don't know what else he's going to show you that he hasn't already shown you. He is a quality backup. I actually think he's probably one of the better backups in the league because you can throw him out there, hope he scrambles around a little bit and knows the system. And that's fine. You know what you can do? You can make a lot of money. Ask Chase Daniels about being a backup in the league, or Colt McCoy. I mean, I
was about to say, ask Colt McCoy. Colt is killing it right now.
There is money to be had for that, and there is no shame in being one of the 32 backups in the league. He ain't a starting quarterback.
Wait, he's not going to change? He said no change?
No. The kicker's the same for now, and they'll be moving forward with number 4. No Kyle Allen yet.
No Kyle Allen. No Cam Newton. I'm just getting frustrated.
Cam Newton.
But you know what? You can't even say like the mistakes from Heineke has been on Heineke. I feel like those mistakes have been on play calling and coaching. Because as a coach, if you know you have a quarterback that's not the best at standing in the pocket and making read 1, 2, 3, 4, like really breaking down those reads, do stuff to make things easier for him. Do some read option. Get some play action. Get him rolling out to the side. Every time we roll out, we be successful. We get into the red zone, we're in a 6-yard line. We don't run the ball one time. We throw the ball. And it's like straight dropbacks. We get sacked. We get him throwing it into coverage. It's like, do something that's make it easier for him. He's a athletic quarterback. Run a quarterback power.
Or they'll be driving and ready to go and come with a big play in the red zone, and Sadiq Charles, false starts. And now you're at, 3rd and 15 instead of.
They coached the run. They coached the running out of them. I noticed that yesterday. They coached it out of them. Like,
Oh, that's been happening.
yeah, he had that
Mhm.
one run, but
Yeah.
other than that, I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
But do they? Because I mean, he ran for almost $1 the week before, and I mean, I can't imagine they were disappointed with the outcome.
I think they were. I don't think they want him running at all. And
Yeah,
you
he
could-
gets in his head.
yeah, you could tell like he's
Mhm.
not. He's not. It's certain points where you say he's not playing free. Like you did your one read, maybe two reads. Go, take off. Don't sit back there while the pocket crumbles around you. You have wheels. Use them.
But the thing is, even with our offensive line struggles, we had 4 or 5 backups in the game yesterday. So that wasn't the typical situation where you want your quarterback doing drop back passes against a defensive line that's been effective against your backups. Make him roll. Make them, put an extra chipper in there. Like, you have to get creative. We got to put more screenplays in. Get the ball into both of our running backs' hands. And it's just like, we just force feed Terry, and if that's not open, it's a turnover.
And the funny thing about the screens are, and I love the screens, and they run them, that tight end screen. I mean, it was there. They didn't have it blocked up right. And Swaggy, you know this, the problem with those screens is if they work, then, it's like, oh, man, they ran the screen. That thing looks beautiful. But much like a toss sweep or, something to the outside that doesn't get blocked up right, oh, man, it's just the worst looking thing you've ever
That's
seen.
the problem. Our O-line is not,
Well,
I mean,
and
they
to
just,
Chris's point yesterday, the right side of the line were guys that, you've never heard of. And frankly, the center going down may be the most important part to the whole thing. I mean, the fact that they were able to just continue moving the ball up and down the field with a center right
without
guard,
Chase. Yeah.
right tackle situation, that
Yeah.
was brutal to say the least. Again, that's why I give those OC credit. I mean, I'm a bigger Turner fan than a lot. I know that. I've been on here saying it, but this is 2 weeks in a row where we've outgained the opponent. I would suggest that not being able to score in the red zone is more a product of needing. That's to me where premier quarterbacks come into play. Assess, redo, figure out, get in the right coverage or offense for the coverage, and be able to put the ball with enough power to get it to any point of the field. And that's to me why we keep getting limited when we get in the red zone, is that's where the inefficiencies of the quarterback really show up the most.
That's the
And they-
execution problem. Yeah.
And they don't throw the ball in the red zone either. I mean, they don't run the ball.
Yeah.
They don't run the
All we
ball.
did
My
was throw.
bad. They don't run the ball. Like yesterday, you have 3 running backs just cycling in and out, and you don't run the ball at all. I saw your tweet too, Chris. Like when you put it up, like how do you get down to the 6 and you don't try to run the ball? Like
One time. Not
one time with nobody. The quarterback,
It's crazy.
the running backs.
Now, Gibson's got the stress fracture in the calf. What does that look like, Chris? I mean, it's not keeping him out of games, so I guess they assume it can't get worse. But I mean, what is that? That can't be a fun day.
Have you heard of an injury that can't get worse? That's like a football term. You know what I mean? Like if you're hurt and you're injured and you keep playing on it, eventually that shit is going to get worse. You know what I mean? So when they say that, it's just like, what do you mean it's not going to get any worse? Like he could completely tear that foot or tear the shin. Like it can't get worse.
Point,
You know what I
point
mean?
well taken. Yes.
And then back to your point of just having a quarterback with a strong enough arm, I don't think that's really the problem, because look at the Jets. Mike White, whoever the hell he is, he came in and threw for 400 yards as a backup quarterback. So it's not the backup quarterback, it's just the scheme that works for each player, and it's up to that offensive coordinator to call the right plays to put your offense in the right position. And I feel like when we move the ball up and down between the 20s and 20s, but that's, who cares if you can't score? And then we can't even kick a field goal too. So that makes it even
It's
worse.
all for naught. It's like, it's for nothing. Getting down there and doing nothing. Yeah,
You
I
have
don't
two
know
opportunities
why.
to win the game and gain any yards.
I've never been crushed twice in a game before like that, where I'd already come to grips with the loss. I'd moved on with my day. I mean, I was, it was on to the Braves game, and I was very excited. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I mean, the team literally got a chance to crush you twice and did that, with spectacular precision.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah,
pisses you off is like when they fight back and then they're just gonna find a way to just, I don't know. I'm just sitting there going, okay, they're fighting back. Okay, they're gonna fuck this up.
That's that. Yeah, they did.
That's the thing. I mean, it's so frustrating to see that they can like do it. They can do it. That's the thing. They have the talent. They can do it.
Coach Rivera said in his press conference today, they're still trying to figure out who they are as a team. I mean, this is basically the same players from last year.
That's frustrating as hell to hear.
And we're a little under halfway through. I mean, what kind of coach speak is that? I mean, he's not saying that to y'all in the locker room, is he, Chris?
Charlotte coach
I would
speak.
hope not. I would hope not.
This stuff you get away with in Charlotte, you don't get away with this stuff in DC. That's what this is. Like,
I think that's true.
I think we didn't pay attention because we, unless you're a Carolina Panther fan, you don't really pay attention to the Panthers. But who was paying attention to him, what he was saying in Carolina? So you would have to go back over old press conferences to see how he responded, to see like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, and I'm not telling you to go, just reveal it all like Jay Gruden used to do, but
Yes.
you got to at least, come on, man. Like, come on. Like, we still trying to figure who we are as a team out. No, we know who you are. Like, we know it. He would have been better off. I've been saying it. He'd have been better off just trying to hold the we in year 2 of a rebuild line.
Well, and he
That's
has
it.
continued to say repeatedly and I hate this too, we won too many games last year and it screwed us because it got everybody overly excited. That's a factual statement. We now know that is absolutely true, but not something you want to hear from the head coach about the football
He
team.
literally doesn't know what the fuck to say. That's the thing. He just doesn't know what to say. The problem is we're in the middle of a rebuild. So if we come out as the Washington Commanders, can you imagine how bad that's going to look? Like, honestly, but we don't have an identity. Oh my God. It's going to look so bad. Like, seriously, we can't command shit. We can't command anything. Oh my God. We can't even command a field goal. We can't even command a field goal.
If the Commanders
Lord.
roll out as anything like the ST retirement, then
Oh,
Oh my God!
we'll be at
What a
like
shame that was.
they'll have something at the Moose's Lodge. You know what I mean?
he's got to come
couple
up
of
with
kegs
some.
and roll out some T-shirts with Commanders on the front.
Oh my Lord, he's got to come up with some better shit for his pressers. Like, honestly, seriously, he's got to come up with some better lines.
I think this off season is crazy. We're already talking about off season, but this off season,
How sad is that? Oh.
he's gonna have to make some real staff changes. Like, you can't. I mean, nobody. I don't think Del Rio's gonna be here another year, but he's gonna have to make some real staff changes because something is amiss. Like, something is amiss.
They need to make staff changes, but then until we fix whatever's going on with the organization,
The owner? I'll say it for you.
Yeah, we can't really go out and get marquee guys because guys don't want to come here.
That's
What I mean? It's hard to go out and recruit the type of players that you need to really win a championship and build a team around when the guys don't want to come here because they don't know what the hell is going on with the organization. And it's like every week there's a new breaking story with Washington. It's like, can we get enough?
And Chris, that DEA story that broke it up, they got half the training staff. How does that affect you guys as the players when you look, do you guys, I would assume you guys build a relationship with these guys that are literally handling your body every day. What happens when half the staff goes out and a new staff comes in or does it really not, whatever, just tape me up and let's go?
It's crazy because I always felt like the trainers in the NFL are so terrible. It's like they don't have enough guys to treat 53 people. It's six trainers in the room, maybe a couple of assistants. You got 53 guys, and everyone's hurt with something. And so what wound up happening, instead of you really getting the type of attention that you need to fix your injury, they'll just give you ice stim and a couple of exercises that you could do on your own And it's just like, hey, you got your rehab done, but did it really help you? You know, and it's a league of masking. You know, instead of really fixing the problem, is hey, take some anti-inflammatories here, take this shot so you can at least play. And then when it's all over and you can't play anymore, then it's like, oh, this guy is hurt, da 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 da. But when the guy was hurt and it was time to rehab him properly, there's not enough people there to really take care of the players. So it just
drives
sucks.
me crazy from a collegiate standpoint. You got 100 players on the sideline. You've got, a huge ass training staff. And it's sad because it again, it's another thing that lets you know that the NFL is strictly about the money, because they could easily pay to double the rosters. There's no reason it has to be 53. You could field a whole nother squad or practice squad players that you're really not even paying that much money to in all likelihood. You could fill a hospital full of rehab things for you guys. And again, they'd still make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And that's why I think so many people are switching to college, because the product tends to be better. They get more practice time. I mean, I heard it on the cast, and I think 48 from the Post was saying, guys like Gibson only practice one time a week now.
I mean, but you got to think about this too. The Washington facility is so far behind, everything. We didn't get anything new in that facility until RG3 got hurt. That's when we got an actual cold tub. That's when we got a hot tub.
No.
Before then, the cold tubs were these little manual little silver buckets that you sat in. We didn't have a cold tub. We didn't have a track thing inside the water to rehab. We never had any of that stuff. It was the same old Redskin building that was from back when, I don't know, way back in the day.
Darryl Green was playing.
Yeah, when Darryl Green, it was probably the same locker room. You know what I mean? Back in the day with Darryl Green and Clinton and all those, it was the same locker room. We didn't get anything new until after RG3 got hurt. We got a new locker room. We finally got our own sauna, and we finally got a cold and hot tub. And it's like, how can this be? We had all this stuff at Penn State in college. We're going to the NFL and we don't have it. But there's no mandate to do it. Even Dallas, even before they built their new stadium, they didn't even have a door on their locker room. They had a sheet that closed the locker room entrance. And
It shouldn't be a mandate. It should be just human. It should be taking care of your players. I mean, shouldn't be a mandate.
That's
crazy.
Ridiculous. As a free agent in the NFL, you have to take tours of facilities like you do when you're visiting colleges.
I mean, you don't, because at the end of the day, it's such a business. It's like, okay, even if their facility is bad, if they're going to pay me this check, I'm still coming. I'm not going to let those facilities deter me away from coming and getting this check. You know what I'm saying?
That is crazy. That is crazy. Because obviously I've never played a down of football in my life, but I just assumed that they might not have had the new high-tech stuff, but I assumed every facility had basics. Those are basics.
Yeah. No, it's terrible that the NFL even allows a lot of these teams to get away with having facilities that they have. It's sad, and then when you look at the actual treatment of players when it comes to injuries, the NFL has to be one of the worst organizations in treatments of players, because this is a sport where there's a 100% guarantee that you will be hurt. At some given point, you will be hurt. And when it comes times to rehab you, it's like you get someone who has a calf injury is probably going to get the same exercises and rehab shit as somebody who has a knee injury. Because it's just like a sheet of paper that they give you. Ice, stem, do a couple ankle mobilities, on to the next person. We got to keep getting these guys in and out because there's not a lot of people there. How can you really treat all the guys that really need help when you only got 4 trainers?
So that's why we have this uptick of second opinions happening. Where it's like, I'm going to go outside and get a second opinion.
Guys are so much smarter because if you just go with what the team tells you, the team's best interest, they work for the owner. So if you're not available to play, then you're letting that owner down. So in order to get you back on that field, medicate. I'm going to medicate so we can mask this injury so you can at least be out on that field and we have our product on the field. Getting you completely healed is not what the NFL is here for. You got to play hurt. Why do you think what's the quarterback from the Browns is out there? Mayfield. Like, he has no business playing. He gutted it out. And thank God he didn't, tear something else. And we don't even know. He don't even know because he done got shot up before the game. And he's probably not going to know what's hurting him until 2 or 3 days later. But the player's safety and the well-being of that player is the last of the team's concerns. It's, can I get this guy on the field to play? It's not, can I get this guy healed? Because each injury takes a couple of weeks to heal for minor stuff. You're talking about shoulder stuff popping out. Like, that's a month injury right there. This guy's back after just 1 week. He's just gutting it through, but that's the culture in the NFL.
Guys, it's not what the NFL tells us, though. They're telling us safety first and protocols, but
it's terrible.
I had a whole bunch of stuff in my mind to talk about, but I'm dumbfounded by the idea that you got 4 or 5 professionals in there trying to wrap up 53.
And then at that, there's only one head trainer,
right?
And then there are like 3 or 4 assistants, and then like 2 assistants to those assistants. So, and that training room is but so big, it can only probably fit maybe comfortably 20 guys in there. But there's only 7 tables.
So you don't even have enough trainers for 20 guys.
Correct. So that's why, like, even when I played, I spent more money for off the field trainers just to get me right, because I knew the trainers at that facility were not going to be able to correct the injuries that I needed and be able to spend the time to do the muscle reaction and really grind into my body and get the stuff to move a certain way. They don't have time to spend an hour on each player. They just don't. Yeah. And it's not their fault. I'm pretty sure these guys want to help the guys become better and get healthy with their injuries, but there's not enough time and there's not enough guys to help out with the amount of injuries that you got, because you got guys that's on IR that has to come in and rehab. Then you got guys who are still going to play that week who are questionable that still got the rehab. Then you got some other people who just trying to do maintenance preventive. And there's not enough trainers to help all this. It's not. So
crazy to think they were smoking cigarettes in the locker room on Super Bowl one. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's kind of how far we've come from the old guys that, were off to war and then back smoking jacks in the locker room to where we are now. But it just shows you that it's a league that, one, is greedy and is still trying to catch up to what's appropriate. Because, like I said, in college, I mean, this is not a problem.
It's the
now,
same
I know
thing,
they've got a
though.
whole
It's the same-
kinesiology school.
It's the same thing in college. It's the same thing in college. Like,
Okay.
even at Penn State, we have really good team doctors, but at the same time, it's 100-something guys on the team. And then you got, you got one trainer, then you got one head trainer that was an older guy, and then you had like 3 or 4 other little assistants and then they had like a couple of people that come before practice to help with taping and stuff. But there's really only 4 people and only one guy who really diagnoses injuries to really understand what's going on. So I'm pretty sure if someone gets injured, the head trainer assess the injury and kind of just tells his assistants what he think they should do to help out with this injury. But those other assistants, they can't really diagnose an injury and really tell you what you need to do to fix it. They just have to go by the one trainer that they have, they get their little schedule, and then they implement it. And it sucks because none of the guys really get healed. And that's why you see so many people spend so much money outside of football just to have their regular team doctor, their regular off-the-field doctor just to help them out with dry needling or massages or muscle activation. Like, that's the type of stuff that all teams should be equipped with. Like, you shouldn't have to spend over $100,000 a year to find another doctor to help you out with injuries when you have a team doctor. But that's just not the case.
This is fascinating.
It is. I really appreciate that you've been coming on the last couple of weeks with us, because the 3 of us can bull jive around football we want to, but we've never been on the field and we don't have nearly the insight that you do. So anytime you get a chance, just ask some of the guys. Just ask them, like, how much money do you have to spend off the field
for a doctor, and watch how many players really come back with some high numbers, because it's like you have to get a masseuse, which I feel like every team should have masseuse ready for us at any time of the day, so we can just go in there and get our freaking massage. So you have to pay for that. Then you have to pay for a doctor to either do acupuncture or dry needle. Like, that stuff costs, and it costs a lot. Like, these people aren't cheap because they know that they can't really charge your insurance per se, because they doing house calls. You know what I mean? So ask Landon Collins how much money he spends off the field to try and keep his body at a level to be able to play. Ask Jonathan Allen or Chase. You know, I'm pretty sure these guys spend a lot of money on people outside of the building, because you can't trust team doctors, because their best interest is for the team, not the player.
I remember hearing, I mean, obviously it's a different sport, but I remember hearing when they was like, LeBron spends about $1 million a year on his, you know, his nutrition, body, like all of that. Like, that's what he personally spends out of his pocket a year to stay in the type of shape he stays in.
Right. Well, I'm not sure what the NBA is. I'm pretty sure it's a lot easier for the trainers to deal with NBA guys because of the sheer numbers.
It's not as many.
Yeah,
right.
So if you got 12 guys and you got them, that should be the amount of training that you have. You should have 6 trainers if you got 12 guys on a roster. You know, they can get that type of help. But a guy like LeBron James, you know, he has to do extra stuff because he knows the people at the facility only care about getting him on the court. They don't care about his longevity. And if you want to have longevity, you have to get doctors outside of the team doctors. And every great player, or every player that has a long career, more than likely they had doctors outside of the team help them out with their injuries, because you'll be set up for failure if you just go with what the team does. Because they'll just get you back. They get you numb enough so you can get back out there and play. And then when you really tear something or really break it, then that's when you just got to have surgery and you're out. But as long as they can get you back on that field, they're going to pump you with Indocin, 800 milligram Tylenol, whatever they have to do to try and mask that injury and get you back on that field, that's what they're going to do. Actually fixing the injury is not their concern. It's not their problem. They just want to make sure you're back on the field.
That's just sad to hear. That's sad.
It's a mirror image of the health system of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's why like I'm on like this new plant-based diet, and I kind of like went away from traditional doctors and went with the holistic doctor, because right now I feel like in my mind and my experience, even with healthcare, it doesn't pay to keep you healthy. It pays to keep you sick, so you can keep being on medication after medication after medication.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and every medication that you take, there's so many side effects that, like, by the time you get done reading the side effects, it's like, bro, I don't even need this to help me with the problem that I actually have. You know what I mean? But that's what the doctors do. They medicate you. Oh, we fixed this problem, but then in the process of fixing that problem, it's hurting 3 other things. So now they got to re-medicate you with some more stuff. So now you become a lifeline medication. That's why people are like, you don't need medicine to fix your problems. There's so many natural remedies that we know of, but it doesn't pay to keep you healthy.
That's right.
They need you sick so they can keep
right.
medicating you.
Right.
You know
If you go plant-based, you're going anti-inflammatory, and that's the way to. Yeah.
I wish I was this knowledgeable about the plant-based life when I played. You know, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I ate baked chicken tonight. That was good for me, but really that was terrible for me. It made my body acidic. It made my body inflamed with injuries when I was trying to take anti-inflammatory to keep the swelling and stuff down. And little did I know, the little grilled chicken or barbecue chicken that I ate, and the broccoli that I put, and I put butter in it. Like, I didn't know that was clogging up my arteries. I didn't know the extent to it. But, you know, me being an African American, when you grow up in that type of household, you put butter and grease on damn near everything. You know what I mean?
And
so,
salt.
So do white people
You
do.
don't have to
White
be
people do
African-American
too.
for that. We butter and salt and everything. So.
Man, our cooking is just, you know, it's crazy. But like, the food tastes good, but then the effects that it has on our bodies, we have no clue of what it's really doing.
I'm all in on the Impossible Burger. I
love it.
I actually like that better. My wife throws in a little bit of egg and patties them up. She gets the ground stuff herself. I like it better than actual hamburgers now.
It's better than regular hamburgers.
I swear.
You know, I tricked my parents into it, because I'm like, I'm plant-based and I don't want to eat beef no more. They're like, no, I want me a real burger. I don't want that fake burger. So I made it without telling them what it was, and I just made it. And they ate
Wait,
that
you
burger
have
like
a
it was the
plant
best thing ever.
burger? You have a plant
Yeah.
burger.
Plant-based burger. It's like
Yeah,
the Impossible
the
burger.
impossible meat.
Impossible meat.
Ooh.
Meat.
Yes,
Yeah.
an Impossible meat, and you season that thing up like a regular hamburger, and it
Yep.
comes out. You would never knew
Impossible
that it was
meat
an
burger.
Impossible
I need to try this.
It's red.
Go to the store
so
and get it.
it'll cook just like beef.
Where do you
Just
get
like
it
it.
at?
Anywhere
Out
you
the
go,
grocery
it's got it
store.
Anywhere now. Used to
Really?
you had to go like to a Publix
Yep.
to get it, but they got it everywhere.
Publix
now.
or Whole Foods.
You can
but
get
now
the
it's
patties
everywhere.
already made, or you can get like a block, like it's like brown.
Impossible meat.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what it's called. All right, I'm gonna look
Yep.
for it.
Never thought
Yeah.
you were going to come on a football recap show to get
No,
the plant-based,
but I'm trying to go the plant-based way too, Chris. And I mean, I can't. I'm not like
There
all
it
the way
is.
in. Oh, he's got it.
Yeah, that's
I'll
what
tell you,
There
we
you
keep
go,
it at the
yeah.
house. I prefer it to regular hamburger now.
Yeah.
I do.
Really?
We had quit meat for a while. I'm back on meat a little bit, and part of that's because they hadn't come up with a good plant-based sausage or hot dog, and I can't do without my hot dog.
Have you tried the plant-based Italian sausages?
those are
By
good.
who?
Beyond.
By
It's Beyond.
I was not
I had
expecting
those-
this from
those
you
are not
guys.
bad because they've got the seeds in there.
What the hell's happening?
Yeah,
Yeah, They got some good. They got
Three
Beyond
very
spicy.
large men talking about plant-based burgers.
I know. I was not expecting this from you guys. This is crazy.
Oh my god, those Italian sausages are great. I love them. Those Italians
They-
I think
Those
have
are,
the
they
sweet
stack
ones
them
and
with the
spicy
caraway
ones.
seed or whatever, and it does give it a little bit of kick. You're right.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is not the way I thought this was gonna go. But okay.
Listen, when the team is playing like they're playing, this is what happens.
Yeah, we talk about
Yeah, we
plant-based
forget about-
sausages and meat and butter.
Yeah, this
and
is just as interesting.
we change our diets and yeah, this is what
I'm just
happens when
upset.
your team sucks.
I'm really upset because I can't talk shit to my friends, and I have a group chat with all Dallas Cowboy fans. Damn
Oh
near.
man, we
And
haven't been able to talk shit for years, Chris. Come on.
Oh my god, bro, it just sucks. Like we
It's
haven't even had
bad.
like 2 weeks. It's like normally you have like 2 or 3 weeks in a row when you can like feel on top of the world, but damn, we can't even get 3 victories.
It's been so well. Last year we could talk shit because we beat Dallas twice, but
Yeah, we could talk shit towards the end of the season because we had a chance, but during the year it was like, damn, we ain't about to make this playoffs, but the rest of our division
Well,
sucks.
and I thought maybe that the Eagles were going to be layups in the end of the year, but now that they're piling on the points, that doesn't look like a gimme anymore either.
Bro,
No.
they just put up 44 points the other day, right?
Incredible.
I mean, it was against Detroit, but still, 44
Doesn't matter.
points is
They
44
I
still
actually
points.
have-
thought Detroit had a chance in that game, to be honest with you.
I actually picked the spread right yesterday because I screwed the pooch last week. I got
you
all
screwed
of
the
them wrong. I got all of the big spreads wrong last week. I got a majority of them right this week. Like,
Damn, Cincinnati busted me out of my survivor this week, too. I figured that was a layup against the Jets. Nope.
Everybody did.
It's never a
Crushed
layup.
half my survivor league. Easy.
Every time you think a team is at their worst, these guys are still professional athletes. And that brings me back to my last game in Washington when we played the freaking Giants and they sat their starters and we still lost.
I love your laugh.
Of those moments.
Oh man, that was one of the worst feelings ever. It's like, bro, they don't got no starters, so we got to go out here and dominate. We went out there and just blew it. And
Well,
it was like, bro,
let's wrap with this a little bit of cheer on the way out. They gave Jonathan Allen the bag, and he's been worth every penny.
absolutely. He's
No
been the
doubt about
best
it.
D lineman. He has the highest in sacks, the highest sack total. He's been everything and more that you wanted him to be. And you know who's been quiet? I haven't heard a lot of Daron Payne's name this year.
Yeah, he's been active, but not in the way that I was hoping.
Well, he's had more sacks than Chase, though, right? I mean, Daron Payne's.
You know, it's crazy. I was talking to the guy that does PFF, Nick Ackridge, for Washington, and we're going to do one of those spaces tomorrow, and he's going to answer questions at noon. So that ought to be fairly interesting. Interesting how the PFF works, though. Chase Young ended up with one of the highest grades on the defense yesterday. But
Nice.
before that fumble punch out, he had one of the worst grades.
Oh, so it was the
That's
fumble.
why I don't really like PFF because their assessment of how they grade is just like so off because there are times on defense when you could have a good game with no tackles and then they grade you down. And it's not your fault that you don't make tackles sometimes. Sometimes they're running away from you. Sometimes you're getting double team. But you could have, like, even times when defensive linemen don't have a bunch of tackles, but that linebacker has a bunch of tackles, that's a direct effect of the defensive line play. So sometimes you may not have the statistics to back it up, but you're still playing well. But it's like what they did with Chase yesterday. I mean, I haven't watched the film every day to really critique his technique. But if his grade was bad before a fumble recovery, before a forced fumble, then it was still bad after it. He just made a good play. You know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, his game is great now because he had a forced fumble. I mean, whatever he did bad before the game, it still was bad after the game.
Oh, I don't think for like PFF, if they're going to do something like that, it should be former position players of that position that get the weigh in on that, because if you've never played, it's hard to determine a lineman's, what they're doing sometimes. Like if it isn't just noticeable, jump out the screen. Yeah. A wide receiver, he get 6 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You see that. You don't know about a defensive lineman who's getting double teamed, who's getting chips.
And they admit to that. It's a number system that should be used as part of the process, not the process.
Yeah, but I just don't like it because it's like a couple times when I played, after you get done playing a game, sometimes you go look at your PFF grade. And there's times where I had, 6 or 7 tackles and I had a great game, but I got graded out as a 79. I'm like, what? Like, how? And then there's times when I only had 2 tackles and graded out at an 83. I'm like, how does this work? You know what I mean? So
I personally think you should
tomorrow and listen to what he's got to say. It should be interesting.
Wait, I think Swaggy should have gotten extra points for his dancing on the field, personally.
Oh, yeah. Bow.
Yeah.
All Millie rocking on every block.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to get up out of here, but I appreciate it. And, hey, this turned out to be a whole lot more fun than I had anticipated when we started this thing about a team heading nowhere. So we'll keep watching and hoping for improvement.
Go Wizards! I've switched already. Go Wizards! Go Wizards!
And we'll do the first Wizard show of the week this week, or the year this week, so look out for that.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Guys.